If Felicity just shaved her head completely, her codename could be Professor Xavier. Hey everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be talking about Arrow Season 4, Episode 11, Owl? I think it's Owl, A.W.O.L, whatever. So, yeah, we got this episode with a lot of things going on. It's more of a Diggle-centric episode. Maybe it's also a little bit of a Felicity-centric episode. Maybe it was both Diggle and Felicity. But anyways, let's get right into it. What did I think of it? Was it great? Was it better than last week? Let's talk about it. So basically, we get a lot of Diggle flashbacks in this episode with his brother. And this is definitely an episode that helped reconcile their relationship even more. Even though I think it was last week where we got to see them fix their relationship a little bit, this episode really gets it more out there. And at first it seems like maybe the relationship isn't going to be that great after all, because there were a couple of exchanges here and there, and even towards the end it looks like Diggles Brother was going to betray him. But nope, he's actually on his side, and he helped him defeat the day. And I really liked the flashbacks in this episode. I thought they were really interesting. I like how they tied into the overall episode, the overall arc of the episode, which was Diggle's relationship with his brother, and gave us a clue that maybe is Diggle on the island? Was that what the ending was indicating? With Diggle's brother finding the map? I think that's what that was kind of getting at there. So are we going to see Diggle's brother on the island now? That's okay. Let's do this. I also was surprised when they killed off Amanda Waller. I wasn't expecting it, and I was kind of shocked because they, other than bringing the Suicide Squad together and the flashback from last year, she didn't really do much ever since she was introduced. I think it was in season 2. So it was like, well, that's all she was around for? This episode was like just to write her off because they had no other plans for her. Yeah, kind of disappointed that they killed her off. I would have liked to see her do something more in season 5. I thought that's where they were kind of gonna go, and because the writers or the producers, I remember saying that they were gonna make Amanda Waller a much more important character in season 4, and she was hardly even here. Or was it season 3? Either way, I mean, like, her importance wasn't really established that well, other than her being in charge of Argus, who was being attacked in this episode. But it was like, I was fine with the episode overall, but I mean, I just didn't like how they just brushed her, killed her off like that. We also have Felicity, who's experiencing some problems of her own, and that was a lot of fun seeing her hallucinating herself when she was in her bad boy days, black-haired Felicity, punk girl Felicity, I'm gonna call her. And yeah, it was cool seeing all that. I thought it was funny when she was hallucinating and Oliver was there, and Oliver was like thinking like, who is she talking to? Like, and the way Oliver turned around to see like who it was, and the way the punk Felicity just smiled back at him. Like, I don't know why, but I chuckled a little bit there. But it was a good character development for Felicity, dealing with this now new situation where she's in a wheelchair, disabled maybe for the rest of her life, and now she has to deal with it, and she did. I did also really like the line that I really laughed out loud at was when Oliver said, "Oh, I was thinking of a new code name for you," and he tells her, "I was thinking of Oracle, but it's taken." That made me laugh out loud. Probably my favorite line of the episode for sure. I'm gonna guess it was a lot of favorite. So that's kind of like a nice little tip to people who feel that Arrow's been borrowing too much from Batman. That's kind of like telling people, okay, look, we get it. We're taking too much from Batman. We're going to be leaving this one alone. And I think that would have been copying Smallville a lot too, because let's face it, Felicity is like the Chloe type character of Arrow. And you already have the smart blonde girl hooking up with Green Arrow. Very similar to Chloe hooking up with Green Arrow on Smallville as well. And if you called her Oracle as well, that would have not only been stealing from Batman, but that would have also been doing the exact same thing that Smallville had already done. You might as well just change Felicity's name to Chloe while you're at it. So I'm kind of glad they didn't call her that. I am curious, did they give her a code name in this episode? They were thinking about it, and then I'm not sure if I heard if they gave her a code name there at the end. So if anyone wants to tell me if they heard anything else, let me know. I'd like to know because I think I must have missed that part, or maybe they just didn't say it yet. Maybe we're still waiting to find out what her code name is. Maybe she'll get it at the end of the season. I also thought it was a nice little moment there where Laurel was doing her DA, her district attorney job, you know? She was at the scene of a crime, investigating, although she was actually helping Diggle investigate. And I just thought it was good seeing that, oh, okay, good. Laurel still has a job, so we know that somebody's paying the bills for, the Arrow Cave. Because God knows what Oliver's job. I mean, he's trying to be elected, but we haven't even seen him. Well, okay, it's only been one episode, but the point is, at least we know some people on Team Arrow still have a job, so that's good to know. I also thought it was really cool that we got to see Laurel and Oliver training. I haven't been thinking too much about it, but there have been a couple of scenes where we've seen Laurel training. I think even in the first episode of Legends of Tomorrow, we see Laurel training with Sarah. So it was actually really nice because it shows that, okay, she is building her experience as a fighter, as a crime fighter. She's not the best crime fighter, but at least the writers and producers are aware of this. And for people who haven't fully accepted Laurel as a true crime fighter yet, there are scenes throughout this season and even last season where she was training. So I think people should be more open to the idea of Laurel being a crime fighter. I actually think Laurel's improved a lot this season, and that says a lot to me. Last season, they kind of dropped the ball on her in some areas, but towards the second half of last season, I actually enjoyed Laurel a lot more, so I want to defend her a little bit, because her character really dropped the ball in season 2. Kind of dropped the ball in season 3, but kind of picked back up. And now I feel season 4 has really found the right perfect angle to use Laurel. And I think she's being used much more wisely this year. Another thing I gotta nitpick on is Diggle's helmet. At first, all the season, I didn't really think too much about it. A lot of people were there were some people, okay, we're used to it now. And then there were others like poking fun at it, and this is the first episode where I started finally thinking, yeah, maybe Diggle is better without a helmet. Maybe he doesn't need an identity. I don't know. For some reason, I just thought of that while watching that scene where all those guys had him surrounded, and he was like, yeah, I was just thinking, I think I like Diggle better without the helmet. Whatever. So with all that being said, guys, I'm going to give this episode of Arrow a 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Really thought this was a fun episode. I thought it gave us a great character development for not just Diggle, but for Felicity as well. I really like that moment at the end when Diggle was introducing his brother to his little niece. The niece, the baby, I don't know if you guys noticed, put her hand out, right? And I literally thought she was going to give her uncle the finger. I thought that would have been hilarious if the kid did that. But thankfully she didn't. She was a nice little girl. And it was a really great episode, and I can't wait till next week. This has been really good. Much better than last week's. Kind of like The Flash this week was much better than last week's Flash. This episode of Arrow was much better than last week's episode. So it looks like they're starting to get the ball rolling, and I can't wait to get back to Damien Dark. I think one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this episode a little bit more, just to finish this off, I think because it kind of felt like an old school Arrow episode. It was very much grounded. It got away from the supernatural element and went back to the more grounded element of how the show started. And they kind of brought back up that topic at the end there with Felicity and Oliver talking in the bed after Felicity lights up a picture and almost lights the bed on fire. He kind of, is aware that, the world that he now lives in has changed. And it was kind of cool mentioning that after an episode of where this was pretty much a grounded episode, and I really like that. It felt old school. And so with that being said, guys, I'm going to leave that here, and hopefully you watch my review next week. All new episode, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and follow me on Twitter maybe, because at iCrazyDavy. And with that being said, take care.